Hey everyone, this is Dave Cordero. I'm just recording a quick little deck tech before the Magic Fest or Grand Prix that's in Dallas Fort Worth. Just wanted to give a quick little rundown of some of the changes that have happened to the deck, uh, both in terms of what I was playing last week at the Team 1K and the week before at the normal 1K, and what I'm going to be bringing to the Grand Prix. So, first things first, you should all probably know by now, if you've seen any of my other content, that Martyr Proc is a deck based around gaining a bunch of life, recurring the Martyr Sands with Proclamation of Rebirth and other effects, and just basically making yourself immortal. The big difference with this deck is that it is a little bit more mid-rangey. I'm not playing Squadron Hawks. Instead, I'm playing 8 Rangers, which I've found to make it significantly more consistent at getting a 6/6 into play. The Squadron Hawks I don't miss at all. They are just kind of weak cards, especially right now with how fast the format is. There's not been a time when I've drawn a Ranger Captain of Eos and thought to myself, wow, like I really wish this was a Squadron Hawk. In fact, the opposite has happened. Every time I draw a Ranger Captain of Eos, it just feels like there's such a huge impact on the game. Both in terms of the size of the body being a 3/3 can actually pressure planeswalkers kind of effectively. It tutors up one of my important pieces. I'm getting the Kami of False Hope lock on more often, so the way that works is you just fog every turn, you keep getting it back, whether it be with Emiri the Sky Ruin, or Proclamation of Rebirth, or Sorin Vengeful Bloodlord, which is another big pickup that's in the deck. Gives all of your creatures lifelink during your turn. It can recur everything in your deck. I've found it to be quite a bit better than Proclamation of Rebirth, just because if you curve out a Ranger Captain, then you either trade it off or some. If you trade it off, then you can just play the the Sorin -3, get it back, and that's pretty good value. You still have a Sorin in play. If you didn't trade it off, you can just play it, swing for 3, gain 3, and then you can get something else back with the Sorin, or you can plus the Sorin up to 6. Once the Sorin is up to 6, being a +2, by the way, is huge. It just gives you 5 turns of free getting back 1 drops. You can get back to Ranger Captain of Eos. You can get a Ranger of Eos, like a big 4 mana Ranger of Eos, and still have the Sorin around. This is a huge gain. Definitely recommend trying that out. Some other interesting changes are I cut the Mistfield Plains just because it enters tapped, and I kept losing to that, and I don't have the Squadron Hawks anymore. I am going to miss the ability to keep my deck full of stuff, but I think overall, the format being as fast as it is, I was losing too many games to just having to play a tapped land on turn 2 and not having up Orzhov Charm or Winds of Abandon, whatever it happens to be. I considered cutting the Field of Ruins as well, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. So they're still in there, even though there are a lot more colored requirements in this deck now. The double white on the Ranger Captain of Eos is actually pretty significant. There's been a number of times on turn 4 I've had 4 lands but not been able to cast it because 2 of them were Field of Ruins. As far as sweepers go, I'm running 2 Winds of Abandon, which looks like a spot removal spell, but you can overload it for 6. The flexibility is really good right now. You can, on turn 2, exile a Vengevine, or if you don't need to exile something immediately, like a Devoted Druid or whatever, you can, in the late game, use this as a sweeper. And this game gets to the late game very easily. It is not unreasonable to use both modes on this. I am. Oop, that's wrong. I'm not playing this Wrath of God. I am playing Settle the Wreckage. That was another change. Anything that is highlighted is a change from the first 1K, just because I sold out of Magic Online, and it's kind of an easy way to see the changes I made. But anyways, I have moved to wins and settles primarily because of the exiling clause. Really good right now. Graveyard heavy metagame. You want to exile things. Also, I figured with the Field of Ruins, the Path to Exiles, the Winds of Abandon, and the Settle the Wreckage, I can run them out of basics easily to mitigate the damage, the downside to all of those effects. The last sweeper is Cleansing Nova, which is a really versatile card. I like it a lot. It's good main deck because you can destroy all creatures, or if you're going against something like 8 Rack or War Prison, one of those Urza decks, it's not a dead draw. You can just destroy all artifacts and enchantments, and that'll really hose a lot of decks that otherwise a Wrath would be dead against. So that's a really good flexibility card that is a sweeper as well. Flexible in a different way than Winds of Abandon, but just as valuable. Onto the sideboard, we've got 4 Rest in Peace to complement the main deck Wheel of Sun and Moon. The reason I have a main deck Wheel of Sun and Moon is that Hogak is going to be pretty popular, and Wheel of Sun and Moon is one-sided. It does not affect me, so I don't have to worry about it being main deck and interfering with my recursion plan. But I feel like you want 5 or 6 graveyard hate spells right now, so I went with the 1 Wheel main and 4 Rest in Peace in the sideboard. Rest in Peace is the card I chose specifically because it is the most powerful graveyard hate spell in Modern. I was playing Hogak for a while online just to sort of get a feel for what it does, and I noticed that Tormod's Crypt does nothing, Surgical Extraction does nothing, and really the only things that were concerning were a Leyline of the Void or a Rest in Peace. Even just like Grafdigger's Cage wasn't that bad because they have shenanigans. The only thing I was reliably losing to in post-board games was Rest in Peace that was unanswered or a Leyline that was unanswered. So that being said, I went with the Rest in Peace. I could support the Black Leyline in here, but the thing with the Hogak matchup is that we have 9 creatures, the 1 Kami, 4 Martyrs of Sands, and the 4 Ranger Captain of Eos that sacrifice themselves. This means we're really good at managing bridges. That matchup can be pretty good, but you have to make sure you manage the bridges correctly, because the only way they're going to beat you is by milling you out, and they can't mill you out if you exile their bridges. So because we can exile bridges, we can actually go late against them, and top decking a Rest in Peace is very much on the table. And it would be much easier to top deck a Rest in Peace and exile their whole graveyard and be able to cast it easier than a Leyline of the Void, which is why I went with Rest in Peace over Leyline of the Void. Then we got 2 Stony Silences, which are for like the Urza matchups and other such things. This is also pretty good. I would probably bring in 1 against Hogak just to turn off Altar. I wouldn't bring in both. That seems a little overkill, but just something that's on the table. 4 Castigates. Those are for combo decks, control decks. It's just, a good discard spell. It exiles. Combo, also for control decks and combo decks, and really anything that's trying to play more than 1 non-creature per turn. Very good against Mono Red Phoenix. It does a lot of awesome things, and I am glad to have access to this card. Okay, now here we get to the flex spots. I added a 3rd Winds of Abandon just because I didn't have anything to really bring in against aggro decks unless it was like Mono Red Phoenix with the combo. So I wanted just like an extra sweeper / early removal spell. Plus, this is also good against the Devoted Druid combo decks, which I wanted to have additional removal for. The new lists are a little bit more all in on the combo, so if you have enough removal, it actually is pretty good. Much better than the Coco variations, which are more grindy because they have the combo and the grind factor, so they can run you out of removal spells a lot easier. With the 3rd Winds, that would give 14 removal spells, which just seems like enough to not get comboed out on. Hex Parasite. I wasn't sure how good the blue-white control matchup would be. I got a report from one of the guys in the Discord, or girls, I'm not sure, one of the people on the Discord, and they let me know that they're 4-0 in a league right now, and they 2-0'd blue-white control 4 times. That is all they went against in the league. So that's reassuring, but I did want to have just something to tutor up with these Rangers for the blue-white control matchup. Just rip some counters off that. Other uses, Tron to kill some of the planeswalkers there, or maybe nerf an Aria of the Flame from blue-red Phoenix. The big one that I'm testing this weekend, this spot was originally a just like for the mid-range matchups, but I was talking to someone and they didn't want to play 4 Ranger of Eos, which I don't agree with, but that's what they didn't want to do. So I was like, well, how can I make better use of the Ranger Captain of Eos? Well, I figured curving Soren after a Ranger Captain of Eos is really good. What else is really good to curve after that? And the thing I came up with was Elspeth Knight Errant. It's good against the mid-range matchups. You can keep making 1/1s. You can jump your Sarah's Ascendants that aren't online, making them 4/4 flying, so it makes them easier to then get online after that. I just figured if you play a Ranger Captain of Eos and then follow it up with an Elspeth, and then you make it a 6/6 flying, that's pretty big. You're going to be able to start clocking people where you need to clock them a lot easier with Elspeth's jump ability. And if you have a Soren out, it has lifelink too, so that's pretty cool. So that one, this one's the one that TBD on how good it is. I just figured it was a good place to try it out in the flex spot in the sideboard. Hopefully it does work for me this weekend.